Hey, you're gonna learn this sooner or later anyway, so I might as well tell you now. The creator economy as we know it today will not exist in 5 years. Will there still be creators? Yes, of course. But creating content and finding people to consume it is gonna be challenging in a totally different way in the Web3 space. So today, I wanna help you navigate through these waters a little bit better. I'm gonna show you the situation you're facing right now, tell you what's happening in the current situation, and give you a glimpse into the future of content creation in Web3. My name is Trent Kennelly. I'm a Web3 marketing strategist, and this is the best place for you to learn about Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, and how to market it all. If that sounds good to you and you're excited, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, comment to let me know what you think the creator economy is gonna look like in 5 years. I would love to know your opinions and your future thought. It'd be really cool, and let's get started. Okay, so I think to understand the new creator economy, we should really start by talking about the problem with the current Web 2 model. And the problem is control. So when Meta decides to make a change like, oh, I don't know, changing all of Instagram to look like a carbon copy of TikTok, you have no choice in the matter. Zuckerberg and his team, they make a decision and they implement that decision. Now, you can decide that you don't like their decision, but what are your options in that case? You can acquiesce to their request or their decision, or you can leave the site and never go back. So for creators who have spent years cultivating a following on a platform like Instagram, is that really much of a choice? I'm gonna say not. And that control angle is super annoying. Yes, it absolutely is. But there is a specific reason, not just because of the control itself. It actually comes down to, as with all things, money. Because Meta and Google have absolute control over these platforms, like we just established, which means that they can decide how much they want to pay creators, or even if they want to pay creators at all, right? They can all decide today, we're not paying creators anymore. Now, of course, most of them are paying creators some amount of money at this time if you meet some certain threshold. So for instance, for YouTube, it's 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours in the last year. For TikTok, it's 10,000 followers and 100,000 video views in the last 30 days. But the point is that they're not paying creators in most cases what those creators are worth for the content that they're creating. And the reason for that is that the platform itself has to make a profit, right? And if they're paying 100% or even 50% of the ad revenue from ads on creators' content to those creators, then they're losing money just by default. Which means that creators are left with these paltry sums. I mean, as a great example, let's look at Zach King. Let's look at his TikTok account specifically. You've probably heard of this guy, most likely. He has 69 million followers on TikTok, and he gets like 20 million views a week or something insane like that. This guy earns $15 to $30 a day, which in the grand scheme of things, when you consider that the man has 69 million followers, that he gets 20 million views a week, that is absolutely nothing. I mean, you can monetize that audience for so much more than what TikTok is paying him on a per day, per week, per month basis. No matter how you math that out, that is, for 69 million followers, it's effective pocket change, right? And so what's happening right now is that creators are starting to see how much more they could be earning if they start to jump ship. Not to mention that building your entire business on the back of another business is inherently risky. If YouTube goes down, you go down. If TikTok goes down, you go down. I know that sounds insane. These are behemoths, but anything's possible. Enron went down, right? So what's the solution here? Diversification. And that doesn't always mean going from one big conglomerate service, Instagram, to YouTube, one to the other, right? Sometimes it means finding services that cater to your business and your audience in a different way. So with all that in mind, let's kind of look more deeply at what's happening right now in this creator economy space. So simply said, creators are starting to look beyond platforms that are run unilaterally and towards those that are giving more control over the community to those creators. Now, that could mean one of two general categories, okay? The first possibility is that you go to a site that simply has a different philosophy, a different reason for existing, right? A different idea about what social content could be or what creation of content could be. Second, and probably more forward-thinking, I should say, is the approach that people are going to start to look to blockchain technology to solve a lot of these issues. So let's start by taking on those different philosophy sites, and I'm going to use the example that every influencer on YouTube seems to be talking about right now, Vero. So Vero is a new social platform that's taking a community-first approach to social media, meaning that it's going back to what social media used to be and likely what it always should have been, right? So they claim to never sell your data, they claim to be ad-free, and the reason they're able to do that is because after the first 1 million users sign up, everybody else is going to have to pay to use the platform, and they claim to have no algorithms. Though I'm just going to step out here and say I don't know how you run a program, which is an app and a website, both are, without an algorithm, okay? You have to have a program to make that work, and programs require algorithms, okay? So I think probably what they meant is that they don't try to optimize your data and optimize what you're seeing versus what you're not using an algorithm. They just kind of show you everything. If that's the case, then okay, they have no algorithm, but come on, you have an algorithm, so let's kind of think about it that way. Now, assuming all of that is true about Vero, which is great for users, what makes it better? Well, it's better because it allows you to directly connect with your community without having to worry about how much of your community is actually going to see the content that you're putting up. So just compare it to Instagram. On Vero, you put up a post, 100% of your community can allegedly see the post. When you post something on Instagram, you might get 10% of your followers to see the post. And then it might be a more popular post than your normal content. And then maybe you're going to get to 50% of your followers and potential followers actually seeing this content. And that is because Instagram has migrated toward a model of delivering more and more paid content and sacrificing the reach of its creators as a result. They're just going for the dollar. So in their search for more and more growth, Instagram ends up choking people who actually bring traffic to the site, aka the content creators. But if you suddenly just remove their advertising model, just take that out of the equation completely, there is suddenly no incentive to mess with what content is delivered, and when that content is delivered, you just send everything to somebody who likes the content. So if I like Peter McKinnon's stuff, lucky day, I can see everything that he posts on Vero. That makes it a lot easier to connect with an audience because there is no barrier, there's no delivery problem when it comes to the content that you post. But you might say to me, an influencer that leaves Instagram and goes to a platform like Vero, even assuming that they bring all 2 million followers or 5 million followers or whatever that they have, still won't be making the money that Instagram pays that creator out of that creator fund. And you are correct. The money that Instagram gives to creators will not follow them to Vero, and Vero isn't making up that account amount, right? You're not going to get paid anything from Vero. But more access to your audience means more potential to drive customers down your own sales funnels. So just think of it this way. When you eventually ask people on occasion for a direct purchase on Instagram, you're posting your sign up that says, I'm for sale, to 10% of your audience max. If you do the same thing on Vero, you're posting that same sign to 100% of your audience. So you decide, do you want 10% of 10,000 people, or do you want 10,000 people to see your post? It might be true that the platform itself isn't paying you anything, but your ability to grow your brand on this platform is so much stronger because of that access. And just to even layer on this a little bit more, let me make it super clear that creators are not making most of their income from ad revenue that Instagram or YouTube decides in their infinite graciousness to grant you. For the most part, creators are using these platforms as a springboard to sell you something else. Peter McKinnon sells you lenses and LUT packs and anything else that he's sponsoring. Ben Claremont sells virtual tour courses and anything else that he's sponsoring. Anybody else who is on these platforms as an influencer is trying to sell you something else. So a model where you have more, freer, direct access to your audience means more earning potential. Great, so all that makes sense. Now let's shift our gaze to how blockchain tech is changing the game. So we've talked about this to some extent in this video, and if you watch it, you're gonna get a feel for how decentralized social media works. But we're talking about the creator economy here, and so the real question is how you're going to make money with blockchain-centric platforms. Luckily, the answer is actually pretty straightforward. They're going to pay you. So let's get a feel for this philosophy by looking at DTube. So DTube is effectively decentralized YouTube. If you have DTube coin, aka DTC, their currency, you can post videos, vote on videos, comment, etc. And the videos that you post can earn DTC coin themselves, which is pretty cool, right? So as the creator, you can earn directly from people who are effectively telling you via their vote how they feel about your content. You're getting more money, that means they approve of your content, right? But even better than that, this voting system acts as the self-governing mechanism of the entire site. Because as votes come in for a particular video or a creator, people are going to be able to effectively declare how they see that creator. If that creator is spewing inflammatory fake news, then they'll be downvoted into oblivion. And when that happens, DTube blurs the video in the feed. You can still look at the video because it's decentralized, so we want to keep it somewhat open, I guess. But you know that it's massively unpopular when you see that blurred video, and you probably are going to avoid it or at least doubt it a little bit more because it's been so massively downvoted, which means also that it's going to earn less over time. Now, obviously, this is not the only implementation of blockchain. Odyssey also pays you in a similar way. It's also kind of a YouTube equivalent, but they don't seem to have much problem at all displaying harmful content from hate groups, so that's an issue. Steemit lets you post for free, but you earn crypto via interactions on the platform. I mean, there are hundreds of other opportunities here. And blockchain technology is just making it so that there's this incentive and this freedom in the group so that each platform can build popularity by building interaction, by getting people excited, by also having them earn themselves, and by using that earning potential for people to basically vote with their feet, vote with their DTC, vote with the coin, whatever that coin is on that platform. So understanding all of that, let's talk quickly about what the next few years are going to look like. And effectively, it's a question of critical mass. So there are a few creators moving off of these big bad platforms right now. That's kind of happening slowly, and it's going to continue to happen over the next few years. But eventually, there's going to hit a point where enough people have moved off of the platforms that there's going to be this mass exodus. So enough people are going to start to see that these creators are gone from Instagram or even maybe YouTube. We'll see that have moved on to these more decentralized versions that are more friendly to their community building, that give them more access, that it's going to make these big players a lot more pressured to try and figure out how to hold on to these creators. Because people are voting with their feet. They want that freedom, they're going to go towards that freedom. So if Google and Facebook and Meta can figure out a way to adapt, then that's great for them. But we're just gonna have to kind of see how that happens because people are definitely gonna be migrating into Web3 possibilities more and more quickly. So okay, the next few years are very likely gonna lead to this decentralization of social media, of creator economy possibilities that is gonna kind of take over from these current big players that really have a lock on the market. But once everyone's floating in 100 different places and nobody knows where to go, what happens next? Well, there's a great example out there right now, something that's happening right now in a different space that can show us the future for Web3 creators, and that is Netflix. So Netflix is, of course, a streaming content provider for movies and TV, etc. And it was incredibly revolutionary when it first came out. It led to a generation of people cutting the cord, getting rid of their cable subscriptions in favor of only consuming content via streaming. And now, 15 years later, Netflix has arguably caused its own next big problem because other content providers like Disney and HBO have realized that monetizing their own content in the same way, meaning via streaming, really isn't hard to do. So we went from a world where cable was king and people had 1,000 options to choose from when they were deciding what to watch. They're just flipping channels mindlessly, to Netflix streaming and simplifying that process, to 1,000 streaming services providing you thousands of different options when you're deciding what to watch and you're flipping through them. It's almost like there needs to be some sort of service to bring them all together and maybe allow you to kind of flip through them like channels to figure out what you want to watch, but maybe that's nuts. But see, the same thing is destined to happen to creators in Web3. We're going to see creators splinter off into hundreds of different subgroups. Those subgroups are going to be followed by millions of people. But at a certain point, those millions of followers are going to get exhausted with jumping from platform to platform to platform, and then suddenly we're going to see another merging event. And I mean, that's probably like 10 years away, but it's still worth keeping in the back of your mind so that you remember to diversify your content placement, because none of these platforms are permanent, and it's really important to remember that. So there you go. Hopefully now you can kind of see why you would absolutely want to get into the Web3 creator economy as soon as possible. There's a lot to do here, and it's only going to grow from here. It's actually going to be really vital that you get your legs in as quickly as possible so that you're not behind, right? So let me know if you've been thinking about this, what you're thinking about for an approach into Web3. I would love to be able to help you out. Otherwise, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, and I will catch you in the next one.